Voodoo.
I'm on it. Zaus. Us. Move!
Way to keep your head, Voodoo.
Yeah, well, that dude was a pound of trigger pressure away from losing his. Mother, we're gonna maintain 4 cars back. That dude said Taliban bugged out on Sunday.
Yeah, them and everyone else. Well, keep your fingers on the triggers. Voodoo, close the gap a little.
You sure Tariq has the intel?
Lively seems to think so. He knows something or else he wouldn't need all the security. Going left. What the fuck? Voodoo, we got company.
Who the hell are these guys?
Roof, 12 o'clock. 1 target. 11 o'clock window, 2 targets.
Mother, we got a truck blocking us in on our 6.
Got it.
Chechens. Shit.
Hang on, Rabbit.
I don't know if I'm the only one thinking or not, but it's prime time EA unleashes Medal of Honor. We haven't gotten a new brand new Medal of Honor game since 2020 when Respawn released a VR game, and in 2012 when Warfighter flopped, which is crazy to think about because at a point in time, Medal of Honor was one of the most beloved FPS franchises during a very crowded era of gaming. We're not just Call of Duty and Battlefield were in their prime, but Ghost Recon was hitting, SOCOM was a PlayStation exclusive that was hitting, Rainbow Six Vegas was slapping, and obviously the futuristic FPS genre was getting ran by Halo and Gears of War, as well as like Killzone. But the reason this video exists and reason I said it is prime time for EA to bring back Medal of Honor is because we are currently in a point of time where gamers are desperate for a good modern military FPS title. Battlefield 2042 was a flop. Call of Duty has been trying to live off nostalgia, and the recent entry has been brutalized by fans and critics. XDefiant, as well received as it was, is currently indefinitely delayed, which is crazy because it didn't seem like there was so many issues with the game when we all played like the closed tests and things like that, and we all viewed it as the Call of Duty killer. EA is just sitting on Medal of Honor and have the perfect developer to work on it. No, not DICE, but Respawn. Yes, the same Respawn who makes Apex and Star Wars single player games. Something that is incredibly forgotten about Respawn is that its founders are former leads of Infinity Ward, and a lot of the Infinity Ward developers left IW to work for Wesley Impella at Respawn. When I say a lot, the number was 38 out of 46 developers who quit Infinity Ward went to Respawn. The saving grace for modern military shooters could be the very same team who created the juggernaut that is Call of Duty. Wesley Impella with Infinity Ward made Call of Duty 1, Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. The latter is still being milked by Activision to this day. The new Modern Warfare game is a continuation of a reboot of MW2. The new game features only MW2 maps. But this isn't about Call of Duty, this is about Medal of Honor. Why haven't we seen a new main entry in this franchise in 11 years? Well, Medal of Honor 2010, though well received by players, Medal of Honor had strong competition in 2010. This is the same year where the most beloved Battlefield game, Bad Company 2 released. A few months later, Halo Reach released. A month after Reach, Medal of Honor released, but a month after Medal of Honor was one of the greatest Call of Duty games of all time, Black Ops. This is just, the big shooters to release. It doesn't include the long list of other heavy hitters to release that year, like Mass Effect 2, Red Dead Redemption, Rock Band 3, Fable 3, Fallout New Vegas, Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Edition 2, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, Mafia 2, Madden 11, Alan Wake, God of War 3, Dante's Inferno, Darksiders, and Bayonetta. Needless to say, 2010 was a great release year for video games, stacked with games that now are beloved franchises or peak for an ongoing franchise. Medal of Honor 2010 had a lot of competition. And we all saw, within recent years, how massive of a decision it is to have a game release during a year that's stacked. Horizon Forbidden West released with stacked games, and it showed in its sales. Horizon Forbidden Dawn, same thing, released in a year where there's a lot of games coming out, it showed it in sales. Titanfall 1 and Titanfall 2 also had, rough launches because they're released during times where they were competing with games people cared more about. And all of that isn't even taking into consideration the controversy around the game if it impacted sales. For the multiplayer of the game, players could play as the Taliban, and the world did not like that. Canada's defense minister at the time called it wrong that any would play the role of Taliban. The Danish defense minister called it tasteless, and many Danish troops were appalled by the game, which featured a province in Afghanistan where Danish troops were stationed. The UK defense secretary said it's shocking that someone would think it's acceptable to recreate the acts of the Taliban against British soldiers. A lot of US bases worldwide banned the selling of the game. Troops could buy it off base, but you couldn't buy the game on base in certain military bases for the United States. EA called the game a commercial success regardless of that controversy. 2 years later, Medal of Honor Warfighter was released. Medal of Honor 2010 single player was made by Dangerous Close, but its multiplayer was made by DICE. With Warfighter, DICE did not help out with the multiplayer. It was a full developed game by Dangerous Close. Much like its predecessor, Warfighter has some controversy. 7 members of Naval Special Warfare Development Group worked as consultants for the game. Those members were disciplined for releasing classified information to Dangerous Close. They did not seek the permission of their commanding officer to take part in the project, and they showed the game designers some of their specialized design combat equipment for the unit, and a lot of that equipment was kind of like, again, classified and not supposed to be shown to the public, and this was being viewed as showing to the public. Not only that, the game was banned in Pakistan for its portrayal of the country as a hotbed of terrorism. Warfighter was not as well received as the first game by gamers. Its review scores across the board were lower, and most gamers just didn't care. Sales-wise, it sold 2 million less copies than the first game during its primary cycle. But much like Medal of Honor 2010, Warfighter released in a pretty big year for gaming, including its competition. 2012 saw the release of Mass Effect 3, Baldur's Gate 2, Dishonored, Far Cry 3, Armored Core 5, Ninja Gaiden 3, The Witcher 2 for consoles, Telltale's Walking Dead, Max Payne 3, Dragon's Dogma, Ghost Recon Future Soldier, Spec Ops The Line, Darksiders 2, the usual sport games that you know about, Sleeping Dogs, CSGO, Resident Evil 6, Assassin's Creed 3, Need for Speed Most Wanted, Halo 4, and last but not least, Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Yeah. The last one definitely killed any chance of Warfighter, being a hit. Both Medal of Honor 2010 and Warfighter had controversies surrounding them, and they both released with gaming juggernauts that year. And you had to take that into consideration. Why did these games fail? In a grand scheme of things, is definitely the release window. You would think to yourself that these studios would be not even necessarily studios, not like their faults. It's the marketing team. You think the marketing team will look at the competition, see who's releasing that year or within the same months, because a lot of shooters come out in the fall. It'd probably be a better and smarter decision to make if you put out your shooter during the summer, because summer's really like a drought year for gaming, or during the spring, because you're not having a lot of competition when it comes to shooters. People, especially during that time, when you release a game in the spring, at that point people are feeling the fatigue of Call of Duty. Call of Duty comes out in November usually, so after a few months, people are like, all right, I need something else to play. I'm done with Call of Duty. The next one's going to be released and going to be announced in the summer. I need something else to play. So the spring's going to be a great year to release a FPS game. Medal of Honor is just a phenomenal title. If you ask most people who have played Medal of Honor games, they tell you that they prefer Medal of Honor over even Call of Duty Battlefield. It's that good in between. Call of Duty is more for arcade shooter that's not really based on skill, air quotes there. It's mostly just reactions and things like that. And Battlefield's more of a military simulation, again, air quotes on simulation. And Medal of Honor was like that in between. It was a game that had a high skill ceiling, a game that also was kind of casual, and a game that was so respectful to military and real war that it was viewed very highly by actual troops. And this is also why when Medal of Honor did what it did when it came to having the Taliban and how Warfighter was, the reason why the world kind of looked at it and frowned on it, because they know the history of Medal of Honor and how the influence of it could be massive, because people do view it as a respected military shooter in video games. But anyways, these are good games that you can't play now. You can't play these on PS5 or Series X, but you can still play them both on Origin, and you can play Medal of Honor 2010 on Steam. You can't play Warfighter on Steam, but you can play 2010 Medal of Honor on Steam. The gameplay in the background is gameplay I recorded for this video. What I remember people liking about these two games in particular was that they were very serious games in terms of their tone. They had story campaigns that felt like they respected history and wanted us, the gamer, to understand the brutality of war. These games aimed for realism, which was why the first one had the Taliban. The development behind these games, they strive for us getting a visceral reaction out of what we're seeing. They want things to be realistic. That's why they will hire people from the military to tell their stories. They will look at what they can learn from like, you know, his channel will have like these documentaries on like SEAL Team 6 and these other military branches and like the hard things they went through, like Fallujah, things like that. So they will see all these documentaries and all this media behind military and put that into the game and try to get that atmosphere to where you, the player, can kind of like experience and feel what real war feels like. These two games are like the movies Black Hawk Down, Lone Survivor, American Sniper, you know, 13 Hours, and those like it. Matter of fact, in Medal of Honor Warfighter is actually like the DLC that's called the Zero Dark 30 map pack. So like it literally draws its inspiration from these, you know, very, you know, based on true story, air quotes, films. You know, these games are more Christopher Nolan than, say, Michael Bay, like Call of Duty. Which, don't forget, I think I said it earlier, older Call of Duty games like Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 3 aim for the similar kind of storytelling and realism. These games wanted to tell the stories of the troops with intensity. In Medal of Honor 2010, they had sad, sombering music playing instead of the hard rock riffs you would hear in a Call of Duty game. You know, the developers got advice and now straight from the troops themselves, using real lingo at the time active servicemen were using. This realism, this accuracy was why a number of governments didn't like these two games. Games like Black Ops and Battlefield 4 and Halo even all, you know, work in a way that separates itself from realism from a storytelling standpoint. Whereas Medal of Honor felt like what you were seeing when you turned the TV on to, you know, the news during the peak of the war on terror. Medal of Honor was like, if you watch those documentaries on his channel about the war, it felt real. And that realism feel that it gave off, again, contributed to why so many people around the world, not just gamers or news outlets, but around the world, had strong opinions about the game franchise. A lot of the moments in these games are intense, especially if it's your first time playing. They can be so intense.
Ready? Cell phone.
Crossman, Bravo 1-6!
Go ahead, Bravo.
We have reached objective Betty. LZ is not clear. Say again, not clear. We need those fast movers. We need close air. RPG! Shit! Keep shooting! They're getting closer! Bravo 6, Bravo 1-6! We're in ambush. We're surrounded and running low on ammo. Taking that! Send anyone! Fast!
We got more targets! As long as you can. I'm sending a squad now.
Target 3 o'clock! What the hell? Fuck it down! Apaches!
So in that scene you just watched, we're holding a little hut, and that hut is being destroyed all around us, and you get this feeling of like, if you haven't played the game before, you're like, I don't even know what's going on here. It's very intense. The music is very like somber, and like all these you know, soldiers from the Afghan side are just pouring down this mountainside. And you know, there's been stories about like that from actual troops where it seemed like they were just fighting an infinite number of people, where it seems like there's no chance of survival, and in the end they do survive. In some missions that goes south and no one survives, and it's that intensity and that realism that these games capture. this game still holds up well to this day, both visually and performance wise. I did have like, you know, some moments in the game where, you know, there'd be like a little bit of a stutter, but that's pretty much it. In terms of like actual game design issues, you know, there's issues with like jumping over, you know, walls and things like that, because, you know, this is an older game. But more into the impressive side of, you know, the fact that it's an older game, this game had peeking and leaning in it, which is now like synonymous with like Rainbow Six Siege. But that wasn't like a big thing, you know, in 2010. I obviously can't get multiplayer gameplay, so everything I say about this will be based off just my memory of 13 years ago. So I'm not going to talk multiplayer. Everything's video is strictly talking about the campaigns of Medal of Honor, which in general is what people care about the most when it came to this franchise before these last two games. Medal of Honor is a massive franchise and people love it. It has a cult following to this day. This game was just on sale recently on Steam. So, you know, people could have probably picked it up and played it then and there. And, you know, obviously the fact that they did a VR game tells you that EA kind of still wants Medal of Honor to be a thing, and maybe Respawn is working on a Medal of Honor game. We don't know, but I think it'd just be a perfect thing, a perfect opportunity, because I always say this: when you have games that you want to release yearly, a better plan is to have more than one IP that releases, you know, separate from each other. That way you can have, you know, a better polished game. Example for what I mean by that: if you're EA, you have Battlefield and Medal of Honor. You can release a Battlefield game every 3 years and a Medal of Honor game every 3 years, and it will seem like both those games are in a good cycle of when one game is done, the other one releases. And that's a good, healthy cycle, because it's like, all right, Battlefield's life cycle's done, Medal of Honor's here. I can play Medal of Honor. Because a lot of times when it comes to shooters, people just want someone to play. And Call of Duty can benefit from that too. If Call of Duty, which they kind of do, Call of Duty comes out once a year, but there's 3 developers. So generally, outside of this recent game, because this recent game got rushed like 16 months development time, but usually Call of Duty, each developer has like 2 years at least, 3 years at max to make a game. So like Treyarch can make a game 3 years, and then that next game will be like Sledgehammer. And then after that, it will be Infinity War. So like there's that balance. Battlefield can have that same thing with Medal of Honor. If DICE is working on, you know, Battlefield, and Respawn has a team that works on the Medal of Honor, or you could bring back Danger Close, who's, you know, the original developers of Medal of Honor. They changed their name to Danger Close over some time. You could just form a whole new team that handles that, so Respawn could just work on Apex and Star Wars games, or maybe a Titanfall game. You can put something in that spot either way and provide things people want to buy. Because again, as I always say, if you make good games, doesn't matter what the game is, what genre it is, what IP it is, people will find it, people will play it, people will stream it, people make content over it, and you'll make money. With all that said, this is the video. Thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Y'all stay safe. Because of the being boy Anubis. If the video came out before Christmas, I said it very, very fast. This video comes out before Christmas. Hope you all have a good holiday. And if it comes out after Christmas, hope you had a good holiday. I'll see you in my live stream. Being boy, I'm out of here. Peace.